Hi there. Thanks for visiting my website and taking a few minutes to watch this video. Today's video presentation is going to be about your golden years and whatever happened to the happily ever after. You know, retirement used to be a promise. And believe it or not, there was a time in this country when people could retire gracefully and worry-free. Their employer held a nice going away party, presented them with a shiny gold watch, and thanked them for their service with a guaranteed paycheck for the rest of their life in the form of a nice pension. Now, this pension would keep them comfortable during retirement and allow them to live happily ever after, just like the fairy tales of old. But it doesn't work that way anymore, does it? Well, what happened? Well, most people don't have a traditional pension anymore. Most corporations have replaced their defined benefit pension plans with what's called a defined contribution plan. You may know of it as the 401k. In the 1980s, 60% of US workers were covered by a traditional pension. By 2007, that number had dropped to just 30%. And by 2011, that number had dropped to 18%. People used to be able to retire like the pyramid that you see on your left. Their pension plan formed the foundation of their retirement income. It was bolstered by Social Security, and they had to rely very little on personal savings or their own retirement nest egg. But now, people have to structure their retirement income plan like the pyramid that you see on the right. Most people have very little pension income, if any at all. Social Security still plays a pretty important role, but more so than ever, people have to fund their own retirement income plan based on their own personal savings and the ability to grow a large enough nest egg. And understanding the transition from corporate pensions to an employee savings program, it's important because we have to realize that 401ks were originally intended to supplement corporate pension plans, not outright replace them. But what actually happened? Well, these corporate pension plans became much too expensive for these companies to continue funding. And so pensions were ultimately replaced completely by the 401k plan. And now you know what happened to this happy retirement, this happily ever after. It's been replaced with a worry-filled do-it-yourself retirement, just like the pyramid on the right. We now have to take all of the personal responsibility, as well as all the investment risk for our own retirement planning. And here's another concern. People are living longer than ever before. And you know something? Married people live longer than single people. I have no idea why, but it's a fact. You can see here on this graph that the probability of a 65-year-old living to various ages. For a healthy 65-year-old man, his life expectancy is age 85. Her life expectancy is age 88. But as a couple, their life expectancy is age 92. Now think about that. Half of the couples watching this video right now, one of you will live to age 92. 25% of you will live to age 97, and more people are living to see age 100. Now, this is great news, and it's largely due to medical innovations and healthier living. But when you consider the millions of Americans who are approaching retirement, and now they have to plan for a 25 or 30-year retirement, and they feel like they haven't saved enough, it's easy to see why so many Americans are stressed out and worried about a time period that's supposed to be their golden years. Did you know that there are 78 million baby boomers reaching retirement age? So if you are one of these people that I just mentioned, you're anxious, you're stressed out, you're worried, don't feel bad about that because you're not alone. And see, this is the time that people need those pensions. They need those guaranteed lifetime income benefits now more than ever, but they don't have it. And to add to all of the anxiety and all of the confusion, what's worse is that if you were to ask 50 different financial advisors one very simple question, what's the best way to retire? How should I do it? You know what you're going to get? You're going to get 50 different opinions on what you ought to do. Well, isn't that interesting? Look, retirement has been studied in depth by PhDs and economists from all over the world, from Wharton to Toronto to Israel. And I've read their research. I've read the white papers. And you know what I can tell you? There are not 50 optimal ways to retire. No, There's really just one optimal way to retire, and that's not my opinion. That's based on scientific, economic, and mathematical fact. So what I'm not going to do is lay out a bunch of my opinions. What I am going to do is lay out the math and the science behind the optimal retirement. So when you watch the videos in this Don't Worry, Retire Happy video series, you're going to feel empowered with the tools and the knowledge to live an optimal retirement and to maximize your retirement experience. Don't worry, retire happy. That's our motto. Now, let's transition a little bit here because everybody thinks that retirement is so complicated, but the more we study retirement, the simpler and simpler and simpler it actually gets. You see, the ultimate success of your retirement is going to depend on your answers to my next two questions. And I'm not going to ask you how much you've accumulated in your 401k or if you have a lot of equity in your big fancy house. Why? Well, because the ultimate success of your retirement is not about your assets. Let me repeat that. The ultimate success of your retirement is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. It is not about your assets. Now, this is a real paradigm shift. But why do I say that? Well, because your assets can be lost. They can be stolen. They can be swindled. They can be divorced. They can be sued. They can be decimated in a stock market crash, or they can be wiped out by long-term care. So no, the ultimate success of your retirement is not about your assets. It's about your income. It's about income. And I would argue guaranteed lifetime income. You know, I want you to stop and think for a moment. Think about the most miserable people that you know in retirement. They're loaded. They got assets coming out the wazoo. They're swimming in their assets, but they are constantly worried because they're worried about losing money in the stock market. They're losing money in oil. They're losing money in China. They're worried about what's going to happen to their money if this bozo gets into the Oval Office instead of this Yahoo over here, right? But think about the people who are the happiest in retirement. Who are they? It's people with pensions, retired teachers, retired military, retired government employees, people who have guaranteed paychecks that are coming in consistently and reliably every single month, no matter how long they live, no matter what happens in the stock market, no matter what happens with prices of oil or what's going on with China. And you know what else? Their paycheck, it doesn't matter who gets into the Oval Office. So the two key questions that we need to answer in order to live the optimal retirement are, number one, how much guaranteed lifetime income do I have? And notice, I didn't ask you what was the return on your investment portfolio last year. Did you outperform the S&P 500? Look, that's fun, but it will have very little to do with the ultimate success of your retirement. Far more important is how much guaranteed lifetime income do you have, because you cannot spend your assets. You cannot spend paper profits, but you can spend income. You can spend paychecks. So, speaking of paychecks, do we have enough income coming in on a regular, reliable basis that can cover all of our basic expenses? That's the paycheck. But also, do we have enough income coming in to cover our discretionary expenses and our recreational or lifestyle goals? That's the paycheck. Why is that important? Because we want you to enjoy your retirement. So again, number one, how much guaranteed lifetime income do I have? Do I have enough to cover my paychecks and my playchecks? And then question number two is, have we taken the key retirement risks off the table? Your answers to those two questions, they will determine the ultimate success of your retirement. Our whole approach, this entire strategy, is designed to maximize your spendable income and then build the rest of the plan to neutralize these key retirement risks that can knock you off course. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on each individual risk right now, because as we move through the strategy in other videos that are to come, you'll see how the plan is built to take these risks off the table. But I'll give you a brief overview to the 7 steps of retirement happiness in the Don't Worry, Retire Happy philosophy. Step number 1 is to work with a retirement specialist to create your plan. We need to learn how to maximize your Social Security benefits, why you should consider a hybrid retirement, how to invest your portfolio to optimize it to protect against inflation, how to secure enough of this guaranteed lifetime income that we just talked about, how to plan for long-term care medical costs, and finally, how to use your home equity wisely. So this entire strategy is based on Tom Hegna's book, Don't Worry, Retire Happy. I've been really lucky that I've been able to be mentored and taught by Tom, and I'm able to use this presentation based on his book. Then he turned it into a television series that has been aired in over 80 million homes about retirement planning and success. And I would also be remiss and probably be in a lot of trouble as well if I didn't at least take a few minutes or a few seconds to flash up my disclaimers about this presentation. You know, we talk about taxes, we talk about estate planning briefly, but I'm not a CPA. I'm not an estate planning attorney. So it's important that we get your other consultants, your CPA and your attorney involved in the process during that portion as well. And then of course, I also need to flash up a disclaimer about the registered investment advisory that I'm associated with for the investment advice and portfolio management. Also about the insurance companies that I work with for the annuities and the insurance. And the Don't Worry, Retire Happy, the presentation, as you'll see in the various videos that I'll make that are to come, they have a bunch of hypothetical illustrations and examples. Just know that obviously they're just hypothetical. They don't pertain directly and specifically to you. So you should work with your financial professional or me, of course, in order to see how the general information and the general education can apply specifically to your situation. And so I would love to work with you. My information is on the screen right now. I'm a registered financial consultant, an investment advisor representative, and my office phone number and my email are on your screen right now. So if you would like to work with me to structure the optimal retirement for you and your situation, please don't hesitate to reach out. Well, I thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and I look forward to meeting with you.